Hi, I'm Bruce Smith, Project Coordinator for the Library team at the Department of Public Instruction, Division for Libraries and Technology. I'm here to present an update on the implementation of the Public Library System redesign recommendations. In August of 2020, we provided a general update recorded presentation of the work we are doing as DPI staff to implement the 7 recommendations that we were delivered to the Public Library. Hi, I'm Bruce Smith, Project Coordinator for the Library team at the Department of Public Instruction, Division for Libraries and Technology, and I'm here to present an update on the implementation of the Public Library System redesign recommendations. In August of 2020, I provided a general update recorded presentation of the work we are doing as DPI staff to implement the 7 recommendations that were delivered to us by the Public Library System Redesign Steering Committee. The information shared in that update covered the overall approach we are using for our PLSR implementation work, in addition to providing an overview of the priorities for each recommendation. That presentation can be found on the project webpage, which I'll be sharing with you during this presentation. Like all work and efforts of the Department of Public Instruction, the library team is guided by equity for all in our state as far as access to services and resources. The Public Library Steering Committee created this equity statement as part of the PLSR process, and that is to ensure all Wisconsin public libraries have the capacity to provide equitable access to excellent library services, regardless of the race, ethnicity, income, gender, or employment status of the people they serve or their location within the state. Today's update is going to focus on 2 things: updates that we've made to the PLSR website, and also a roadmap of the activities and timelines related to the projects that are being done for each of the 7 recommendations. First, I'm going to start with the PLSR website. The website can be found on the agency website for Colland and their page and related links for them, with a specific PLSR link here to get to the site. On this site, there's background information related to how the project developed and resulted in the final report from the Public Library Steering Committee. This report contains details about each of the 7 recommendations that we are implementing as part of this process. Priorities are developed by input that we receive from discussing and asking for feedback from the library community, but also the partnership that we have with the 16 library systems. As a result of the current pandemic, focuses have shifted and priorities have been readjusted. And this was done in discussion with the 16 library systems to identify which implementation activities will best help them as we work through the impacts of the pandemic. Information about those priorities and the new focuses and the approach we are taking can be found in the update presentation that I mentioned was done in August of 2020. The recommendations are listed here, but detailed information for each recommendation can be found in the link to that report, that's the steering committee's final report that was delivered to the Department of Public Instruction. The implementation roadmap, a link here takes you to that, and I will cover that next. And finally, at the bottom of the page, we will be listing updates that we make here, providing resources to this. This is the recording that was done to the August 2020 update that covered the approach we are taking with PLSR in light of the pandemic and the priorities for each of the recommendations. Recordings and slides are here. As always, feel free to reach out with questions or comments related to PLSR to our dedicated PLSR email address, or if you have questions about this information, you can contact myself through the link to my email address or by giving me a phone call. Next, let's talk about the roadmap. We're using a very high-level roadmap to identify and map out our project timelines for each of the recommendations. We like to think of this as looking at the 30,000 foot down to the 10,000 foot level. This does not get down to project details and specific timelines and activities. We have our timeline mapped out from now through the next 18 months up until June 30th of 2022. Part of that is a planning process of looking at the next 6 months of what we're able to accomplish and what we know we can plan on doing, what we identify as our likely priorities and activities for for months 6 through 12, and then what we hope to be doing from months 12 to 18. Of course, conditions change, needs change, and we will adjust this as we communicate and get feedback from the community and work with our partners at the library systems. Another reason for this timeline is the information we will gather from the progress and results of the work that will be done on the PLSR activities will help inform our LSTA plan development, which on June 30th of 2022, we have to submit for our new 5-year plan. And it'll also identify then resources and projects particular that we will want to be working on as we move forward from the activities of these recommendations. So in general with these, anybody can go in and open up this project roadmap, can look at the different activities of the different areas from our PLSR coordination to the specific recommendations. This is an iterative process. We will be changing, adapting as conditions change, as we get different input and feedback, and as different needs are identified in the community as we move forward. But our goal is to get to the beginning of, or the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022 to identify what progress and results we've had from the different recommendations that have been moved forward and what that might do to inform then our 5-year plan, LSTA plan development, which serves as a strategic plan for the library team. Part of this will then include what we might be looking at as far as development of public library systems and standards from research of other states, and also what we see as progress and developments that happen with the other recommendations that might identify standards for systems that might help systems move their services up to reach higher levels of standards as we work through this together in partnership with them. One way to do that will be through our collaboration recommendation, using that as an identity to figure out what might be levels of standards we can achieve through collaboration in the state and how that might be used to help move systems forward and reach new levels of service to their members and the citizens they serve. The big goal of this is create a collaboration framework. So as opportunities and needs for different collaborations arise in the state, we know how to bring that in to figure out whether it's a partnership between regional systems, whether it's something at state scale for purchasing a resource, providing different roadmaps for how we might have those collaborations happen. As far as the third recommendation related to the number of systems, the primary goal is to create a merger guide. This will allow systems that have relationships with each other or collaborate with each other that want to explore merger organically and voluntarily to do so with some guidance from this guide. That will include things that are related to statutory requirements or things that might be related to best practices learned from other systems experiences as they have either successfully merged or taken on other counties to grow, or also have not completed a merger process but did go through an exploration process. The system state aid funding formula is going to be reviewed by a consultant that we'll bring in to identify current opportunities and potential options for changes to it, in addition to identifying potential outcomes and consequences of any changes. That report will be brought together then to bring stakeholders in from around the state to identify what might be next steps that we would do with recommendations related to the system state aid formula. Currently, work is happening on the delivery recommendation activity with the participants of the statewide delivery network, including the 16 library systems, to identify what is the process to move forward with adopting the delivery model that was put forward in the PLSR process for a new statewide connection model. And out of that, then identifying priorities that might be related to increasing equity of service across the state and innovation to increase effectiveness and efficiency. The discovery layer is our opportunity to research our current landscape of resources and different platforms we have for people to access materials and resources. And we'll bring in a consultant to study that landscape and understand what might be the paths forward to achieving a discovery layer that would increase and ease the access of finding resources across the state. That would result in bringing stakeholders and experts together to then look at that report and the options and the paths and determine how we might move forward towards making discovery of materials and resources more easily happening across the state for our citizens that use our resources. And lastly, we have a number of projects happening related to professional development. Primarily, they're happening on the technical side to increase access to finding partners across the state, easing the process for library directors to certify themselves, making an online process, and also creating a one-stop place where people can find learning opportunities through a calendar to move forward with their professional development. There's also a collaborative approach here of how we work with the systems and the different continuing education providers in the state to do this in a very collaborative way so it's useful for all across the state. This concludes the update for November 2020 related to the PLSR implementation activities. Primarily, we just wanted to communicate the tools we are putting in place so people can see what activities are being worked on, how to access those through our PLSR website, and of course, as always, how people can contact us at DPI related to the PLSR process through the contact information that was shown on the PLSR website. We thank you for viewing this video and this update presentation.